Hello again, and thank you for tuning in to Neptune Knives. So today we're going to cover a very important subject, and this is one that I want to do properly, and I hope that all this information is helpful, and let's get to it. So today's subject is basically now, what is the best knife? You could say a best knife can be determined by, you could say design, its function, ease of use, its comfort, in carrying it. Many different things can apply. Specifically, what we're looking at, though, is that tactical in this video. Tactically, what is the right knife? If a knife is a tool, and you have to understand, anything a knife touches, a knife is a tool of destruction. That's what it does. It destroys things. It'll either destroy life, it'll destroy plants or trees or paper. Whatever it does, the thing on the edge is going to be destroyed. So it's not really something that, there is a lot of artistry that goes into it, but at the same time there's a lot of practicality that needs to be taken into consideration, because it is a dangerous thing. You're holding something that could, injure you if not built properly, or if you don't know, and it could fail. It could, especially folding knives. Now, specifically, this video is emphasizing folding knives, and why is that? A lot of tactical experts, they just say that a folding knife is a little bit better because you can quickly put it away. As simple as that. It is hard to always sheath your knife perfectly, in situations, So if you can quickly deploy it, plus it is more compact, a little simple, everything in one spot. True, there's moving parts, but you can see there's a lot of effort by a lot of great knife companies to make these folding knives that can work. Even the Strider SMF was like that first knife to be issued to some kind of Marine Corps number in history for last 20 years. They specifically, that Marine team, they chose that knife. Places I buy from, the son who's a police officer uses an SMF. There are people who use Emerson's to Spydercos. This is a fact that folding knives have a place, and for me, they're a little more fun too. Now, basically, someone say, what's the best knife? Well, then the best way to decide the best knife is perhaps look at some of the best brands and what they do. You could say, well, Sebenza, Chris Reeves, right? What are some things that make a Sebenza good? Well, you always hear it's that consistency, consistent action, And then the next thing was it's modular. Everything is, the hardware is great, and it's all interchangeable, and it only uses one screw tool size. Zero tolerance, hinders. What do they do? It's about the speed. R.J. Martin's, the flippers. The action, how fast it comes out. Does the flipper give you a guard? We're talking Choils like Spyderco, Ergos. Emerson's. They got that bulk. Less ergos, more bulk, because again, grip. We're talking grip. And even blade shapes, we're talking Spontos on hinders, to we got Spydercos with their choils for safety, just like the finger guards. Emerson's have the chisels, because again, that's a survival aspect. Striders, those they have those saber grinds. They have the the Warncliffe on the Strazula. All of that. The military has that kind of drop point kind of style. We'll get into that. Those are some features. Tactical, then, I would say, is based off of the blade, the deployment, and the design of the knife. You look at survival, you're looking at the versatility of the knife, the blade steel, the shape, the maintenance and the hardware, how the knife is constructed. And what are some things to ignore? Weight. Weight is irrelevant. If you're out and surviving, you have your knife with you, and you're like, oh man, I'm so happy I saved that 1 ounce. I didn't pack my body armor. It's ridiculous. Weight is not going to matter. You're going to wish you had the right knife or the right tool. Weight will not matter at that point. A knife, if you read many specialists, again, it's a key part of survival. A knife it's not something you skimp on. Next would be the size. Honest, that's that truth, that where a smaller blade can't do what a bigger blade can do. A bigger blade can do everything a smaller blade can do. Depending on the blade shape, some blade shapes can get a little bit too crazy to where they're just not that functional and harder to use. But generally speaking, and I'll get into that, generally speaking, a functional, no BS blade shape can do what a larger blade can do what a small blade can do. And they have a lot, again, specialists that suggest, somewhere around the 4-inch mark is where a lot of people are comfortable. They say 3 to 5 inches. 3 inches is a little too small for outdoors. 5 inches could be a little too big. So, you look at that area. A lot of people prefer 3.75 inches, like this knife, the Boblum Tonto or the Umnum Zan. It's a great shape, and especially the new Hinder collaboration with zero tolerance, they upped the size to 3.75 instead of keeping Hinder's 3.5. So the thing is, you have to realize, okay, whether it be you're using these knives for family, personal, or military use, deployment, you have to understand, you have to know the knife. See, there's that old rule that goes, okay, they say that the best knife you have to survive with is the one you have on you. That's not correct, okay? That's bogus. It's the best one. The best knife you have is the one you're familiar with, that you have on you, that you use all the time. Because you know its flaws, its strength, its characteristics. For example, some people really love the military. Fine, use the military. You know the blade might snap, and you know the screws are crap. Pack more extra screws. Pack an extra blade. Pack an extra military. It'll defend your life, but you might break it in the process. Just realistic, A Sage, you're like, well, it doesn't have grip. Add grip tape. If you have a knife and you really like it, like on the Sage, the screws aren't gun coated, so I gun coat my screws. You can, it doesn't have a wave, well, I add a wave. If you really want something, if you really like that knife, it's better that you consider taking the one that you use all the time, because that's when you're proficient with. You have skill at that. You know its limits. It's better than, because this is the idea. In situations where everything is changing, it helps to have one thing consistent. There's again more specialists that talk about this, where sometimes for example, if you had your family and you had a bug out kit, and your family one of your kids they have a toy that comforts them. That's not the most logical thing to pack for the weight, but it makes them feel comfortable, makes you relax, helps your nerves. You have to say there's a psychological element to this. It's something that you're familiar with. It makes you feel at ease. Maybe makes you feel more confident. Maybe a certain blade design makes you feel, I would say, more powerful, more confident in its ability to defend your life, and get the job done. So that is a consideration too, But the main thing is you have to look at, there's two types of people, okay? And we're going to get more into this, but there are people who are purely logical. Like perhaps you would say, like someone like Frenzied Calm, where some people will just choose the knife just based off purely what it is. And then there are some people who have some sentimental aspect to a certain knife, something they're attached to, a specific model that they feel associated with. They grew up with a certain steel. There are some people who you can train them, and they can, based off of pure logic, take everything you learn and perform it like a machine. Most people are not like that. I am not one of those. No matter how hard I train, when it comes time, I lose control. Do I lose control in an uncontrolled manner? Yeah. But do I lose control in a manner where I don't have any training? No. I lose control. I lose my control. Fortunately, it's just the realistic part. But I still do what my training taught me. Like I still know the ideas while it's happening. And that's what you have to realize. You have to choose a knife within your skill level. You could have a stiletto knife, like a cold steel tie light, and if it's not within your skill level to be there and make little quick pokes. If you guys understand this, what is it, the Spanish or whatever, the Italians, French, when they created that nice thin fencing sword, where it's just a quick little stabber, and that little nicks, it just takes very little force. This is another quote from a TV show called Firefly, where it takes a pound of force to cut flesh. It is easy. You just run a blade along your skin and it'll cut it. It doesn't take a lot of force to cut something, especially in terms of tactical self-defense. So you have to look at, but are you someone who can sit back, because that the tie light tip is real fragile, and make careful cuts and nicks, at the limbs and stuff, and go in there for the final stab. Is that something you can do? Or are you just going to start hacking away and swing your arms? Are you even going to pay attention? Are your eyes closed? There are different kind of people, and you have to look at a knife that's built for your skill level. For example, Mel, I refuse for her not to carry a knife that has a flipper or a choil, because within her skill level, I know she's not going to pay attention to how she's holding the knife, and possibly her hand may slide down the blade. So me, I've had my hand slide down the blade, and that's why you have this funny little, my fingers and the little scar. So I'll tell you that, it depends on your skill level, and that goes into grip, which we'll talk about. Good knives have good grip, okay? So the main thing is, it has to match your skill level. It has to be something you're familiar with, and it has to be consistent, something reliable, so that you can know what's going to happen. A certain performance that's consistent. Very important, these things. You're looking for versatility. You're looking for, okay, rewind. This is why this is here. Okay, these are here so that you can go back, and if you want to listen more about theory, we can go on to theory. So we are on to blade shape. Blade shape is cool. This is going to be fun. Now, typically, if you understand something, okay, fighting, okay, weapons are about range. I mean, if you're going to be up close brawling with someone, you can grab them, okay? If you're going to be far away, that's what a gun's for. You don't have to get close. You don't have to put yourself in danger. Someone has a sword, you have a knife, who wins? You know what I'm saying? It's that range. It's reach. That's key thing. You ever see Bruce Lee fight? That when it was Kareem or whoever he fought, that one move I forgot to. It was that reach. I mean, if you can't get to them, if they're at a distance that you can't touch, you're safe. You're safe when you're far away, and they're safe when they're far away. Of course, unless it's a gun, but then, you know what I'm saying? But then you want to be close. So that's what you have to consider, reach. Now, what reach then comes into this is, okay, blade length can be considered. But blade design for reach. Best, we are talking Wharncliffe. Wharncliffes, why? Military counts too. Any blade where it offsets the blade, any shape where the blade slightly goes down and outward that way in relation to your hand. And the reason it's going to be a little hard to show in this video, here's another Wharncliffe, okay? I mean, you must ask yourself, well, why did Tazula on this custom choose a Wharncliffe blade shape? What is a Wharncliffe about? A Wharncliffe is this blade shape, okay? Watch the other guys, that video on it, and it's one of my favorites. Anyway, the point is this. When you have your reach and you're trying to slash at something, okay? Try to follow me on this. When you slash at something, okay, this tip in relation to my hand, okay, if say the point I want to cut was right here, okay, let's say I want to cut my little ninja guy, okay, and I'm slashing at him, okay, then what happens is I reach him sooner because this tip is closer, meaning I don't have to swing my arm as far, neither far this way or that way across my chest. If the tip goes far up towards my wrist, more up, has a curve up, then I have to, before that tip starts to reach him, my arm is now further across my chest. I have to make bigger swinging motions, less controlled, quick motions. So you have to understand that, like, the blade shape, okay, so, well, you might say, well, between these two, what's the difference in where the tip is positioned? Maybe it's just half an inch. Maybe it's just, a centimeter or two, right? Well, how does that transfer into where your arm is, though? It might be here, but once your arm is all the way back here, that's a big difference. You could be saying your arm is like, now your hand is all the way out to your side because you had to swing, or instead of how do you say it like this way? Your arm could be more across your chest by like 3 or 4 inches because of that. If you look at it, just do this at home, you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, just be aware of this idea. A military curves its blade, the handle kind of curves down, the blade goes out that way, so that the blade reaches further towards the opponent sooner. So when you slash, you see, the Wharncliffe will reach them first before this one will. Meaning I don't have to slash. When I slash, I'll do more of a cut, and I'll do it sooner, so I don't have to swing my arm as far out. The next thing to consider is Wharncliffes, modified Wharncliffes like these, meaning the bottom edge is not totally straight like a tanto. It's easier to sharpen. When you're out in the, when you're trying to sharpen something, and the thing is, the sharp knife is going to be the deadly knife. It's simple. It doesn't matter what steel it is. Now, so with blade shape, you have to understand, like, how many times have you reprofiled a tanto point, a spear point? How many knives have you, as an individual, had to reprofile or sharpen yourself? Do you even sharpen your own knives? I mean, you have to look at this. I mean, different blade shapes, some can be a pain in the butt. I mean, that's the only way I say. Some are very difficult. So generally speaking, a sharp blade is a safe blade safe knife because when you cut, you don't have to use as much force to cut. And any knife can be tactical. Any knife will do its job if you got a razor edge on it. And especially if the blade does chip, how do you reprofile knives like a Wharncliffe? A Wharncliffe is easy to reprofile, especially this one right here. You just look at it. That top edge, you just sand that top edge down and a curve, so you just have to go like this and then sharpen the edge. That's what happens if you break the edge. See the thickness? Consistent throughout. Because Wharncliffes are, that's an advantage. Wharncliffes are tactical, but at the same time still decent thickness, which is another aspect of being tactical. Tazula, I can do this. I can reprofile this. This is similar to Christy Vumnamzan's Tonto point at the top. He added these little bevels right here, these little